Welcome to Actuate Water Faucet, an innovative blockchain faucet dedicated to revolutionizing water management in communities, especially in northeastern Kenya. By leveraging blockchain technology, Actuate Water ensures fair access to clean and reliable water sources. This initiative not only empowers economic prosperity and educational advancement, but also contributes to reduced crime rates. Our project incorporates a 3-day creative training program for community development workers. These workers will educate households about transformative change, what we call metanoia. This process involves envisioning the future they desire, understanding their current conditions, and mapping out how to achieve that future. Within the Actuate Water Faucet, we offer an innovative 8-week learning program. This hybrid program combines online and physical meetings, catering to diverse learning preferences and schedules. Participants actively engage in these sessions and earn tokens as incentives for their contributions. These tokens serve a dual purpose. They not only reward individual participation but also empower community development workers. With these tokens, workers can train households within their communities, amplifying the program's impact far beyond the immediate participants. This creates a cycle of empowerment and knowledge sharing, enhancing community resilience and well-being. Our solution facilitates economic activities like agriculture and small-scale businesses. It also alleviates the burden on children, particularly girls, who often miss school to fetch water from distant sources. Through Actuate Water's faucet, communities unlock their economic potential, promote sustainable growth, and foster a brighter future for all. Join us in transforming lives with Actuate Water. Together, we can build a sustainable and prosperous future. Welcome to Actuate Water Faucet, an innovative blockchain faucet dedicated to revolutionizing water management in communities, especially in northeastern Kenya. By leveraging blockchain technology, Actuate Water ensures fair access to clean and reliable water sources. This initiative not only empowers economic prosperity and educational advancement, but also contributes to reduced crime rates. Our project incorporates a 3-day creative training program for community development workers. These workers will educate households about transformative change, what we call metanoia. This process involves envisioning the future they desire, understanding their current conditions, and mapping out how to achieve that future. Within the Actuate Water Faucet, we offer an innovative 8-week learning program. This hybrid program combines online and physical meetings, catering to diverse learning preferences and schedules. Participants actively engage in these sessions and earn tokens as incentives for their contributions. These tokens serve a dual purpose. They not only reward individual participation but also empower community development workers. With these tokens, workers can train households within their communities, amplifying the program's impact far beyond the immediate participants. This creates a cycle of empowerment and knowledge sharing, enhancing community resilience and well-being. Our solution facilitates economic activities like agriculture and small-scale businesses. It also alleviates the burden on children, particularly girls, who often miss school to fetch water from distant sources. Through Actuate Water's faucet, communities unlock their economic potential, promote sustainable growth, and foster a brighter future for all. Join us in transforming lives with Actuate Water. Together, we can build a sustainable and prosperous future. Welcome to Actuate Water Faucet, an innovative blockchain faucet dedicated to revolutionizing water management in communities, especially in northeastern Kenya. By leveraging blockchain technology, Actuate Water ensures fair access to clean and reliable water sources. This initiative not only empowers economic prosperity and educational advancement, but also contributes to reduced crime rates. Our project incorporates a 3-day creative training program for community development workers. These workers will educate households about transformative change, what we call metanoia. This process involves envisioning the future they desire, understanding their current conditions, and mapping out how to achieve that future. Within the Actuate Water Faucet, we offer an innovative 8-week learning program. This hybrid program combines online and physical meetings, catering to diverse learning preferences and schedules. Participants actively engage in these sessions and earn tokens as incentives for their contributions. These tokens serve a dual purpose. They not only reward individual participation but also empower community development workers. With these tokens, workers can train households within their communities, amplifying the program's impact far beyond the immediate participants. This creates a cycle of empowerment and knowledge sharing, enhancing community resilience and well-being. Our solution facilitates economic activities like agriculture and small-scale businesses. It also alleviates the burden on children, particularly girls, who often miss school to fetch water from distant sources. Through Actuate Water's faucet, communities unlock their economic potential, promote sustainable growth, and foster a brighter future for all. Join us in transforming lives with Actuate Water. Together, we can build a sustainable and prosperous future. Welcome to Actuate Water Faucet, an innovative blockchain faucet dedicated to revolutionizing water management in communities, especially in northeastern Kenya. By leveraging blockchain technology, Actuate Water ensures fair access to clean and reliable water sources. This initiative not only empowers economic prosperity and educational advancement, but also contributes to reduced crime rates. Our project incorporates a 3-day creative training program for community development workers. These workers will educate households about transformative change, what we call metanoia. This
Okay, thank you very much, Frida, for playing that video in the Actuate Water Faucet. And hello, everyone, and welcome to our 4th session for the second cohort. And today we shall be discussing the creative process for the water project. And we shall be going through the brainstorming process and ideation, project planning and implementation, and lastly, the role of the community in project development. And our topic master today is Melvin Nabali, and I want to appreciate him for making time to speak to us today. And without further ado, allow me to welcome our topic master, Melvin, so that he can take us through the topic for today. So Melvin, you're welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, as Ms. Yumba said, we'll be going through the creative process of the water project. So, usually, each project has to go through steps for it to be successful. For instance, usually before you start any project, you start brainstorming ideation is part of the process where you get to think of what is needed before you actually, propose it. Right? Because usually innovative processes are brought about to solve problems that affect communities. So brainstorming is where people share ideas. You ask yourself what your community needs, and you create ideas for possible projects to solve the problems. So in this case, where the Actuate Water Faucet aims to solve water issues in areas in the north, you first have to come up with an idea of what to do. So then you go to project planning and implementation. Each project has to go through a cycle of stages. It's a cycle because where a project ends is probably where the next project begins, because after you solve a problem, you never totally solve a problem. You keep on collecting data and looking at it and improving it. So there are several processes that can be used to plan and implement projects. For instance, before you start a project, the first project, or rather, I'm going to talk about a 5-stage cycle that begins with initiation and ends with a closure. The initiation part is where the project starts. You know, you come up with an idea, you've idealized a project or rather a solution for something, and then you need somewhere to start. This is the initiation process where usually you want to include stakeholders, different stakeholders in the communities, maybe let's say MPs, let's say leaders, you know, church leaders, religious leaders, and everyone else. After you share your ideas with people, you'll want to do the planning. So, and projects are done in teams. So the initiation part is where you'll probably come up with a team, share ideas on what to do, and then you decide, and now plan. When you finally decide, Shundu. Okay. So after the initiation stage, you start the planning. In the planning, planning is where you decide the steps you're supposed to take to actually implement the project. So you have a water project, you have a problem that you need to solve. You decided that you're going to do a certain project to solve it. And now you have a team of people you're working with. So when you plan, you come up with a design of what to do, you know where to get the resources and everything else you're supposed to do so that the project gets done. So now after you've planned, or rather created the design of what to do, you get to execute the plan. Let's say you're doing a borehole. You want to know how much it will cost so that you can create the budget. You want to know whom you will include so that you can include them. You want to know any other resources that will be needed, you know, the skills, everything. And then after you have everything, let's say the design of what you want to do, you enter the execution stage. In the execution stage, also called the implementation stage, that is where you bring the team on the ground and they get to work. You know, the previous stages have been, you know, sharing ideas, developing ideas, and then developing the plan of what to do. So far, nothing has happened. It could be paperwork, you know, people doing meetings and things like that. The execution part is where you bring the material to life, where you bring the resources together, link everyone who's supposed to be involved, and get to do the project. So if you're doing a ball somewhere, that is the actual digging. Usually after you develop a solution for a problem, you want to know, is this solution working? Let's say you have a borehole for a community. You want to know, is this borehole solving the people's needs? How many people are accessing it? Who are not accessing it? How can we better improve it? You know, so the next stage is called the monitoring stage. Monitoring and controlling. So when you're monitoring something, you're just collecting data, analyzing the data, and using, you know, storing the data. Controlling is where you want to control, you know, you've created a project and it's already working to help the community. So you want to keep on talking to people involved, you know, wanting to know who are being affected. Is it positive? You know, is it going according to plan? Or let's say you wanted to make the distance between the people and water shorter. You want to know, are the members of the community getting the water? How much water are they getting per day? How much can you improve the project? So this data can be used to keep on improving the project. After you've done the monitoring, and this is a continuous process, it never stops. The monitoring and controlling kind of just happens in all the stages of the implementation and after implementation. You know, this post-implementation, there has to be a team that comes to the ground to see whether this particular solution is working. Now, after that, there's the closure. After you've closure is where you kind of want to sign out. Each organization comes with a project, and the project aims to solve a certain need. After you've done everything, you've included everyone in the community, you've designed the plan, you've put in place the plan during the execution stage, you've monitored the project for, let's say, a year or so. you have to hand it over. It has to be sustainable, and the community has to sustain the project. So you have to hand it over. Using the data that you've collected and the material that you put on the ground, the project itself, handing over is where you get all the information needed. Let's say you're closing accounts, and hand it over to whoever is supposed to be in charge. At this point, we expect that we'll have created enough management strategies using the data that you'll have collected during the monitoring part to know how best can this project run, so that when you leave this project to the people, it actually becomes sustainable and helps them solve their needs. Now, you remember when during the initiation and the planning, you need to involve people with different skills, people with different perspectives, people who are affected differently, and these people are called stakeholders. So in a community, for instance, stakeholders are the people using the water, the administration, and everyone else, children, everyone, and these people are affected differently by projects. Now, which means for each project to be successful, it has to solve the needs of the people without affecting some people negatively. Rather, those ones who are affected negatively, it has to be within acceptable limits. For instance, you don't want to give people water and increase the mosquito around and introduce malaria or something else. So, and the people, if the people are not involved, let's say the public health and other administrators, and the people when you are using the water, they may reject the project. And for that reason, you have to include the community. The community is everyone who is affected by the project. Including the community means that they will support the community. It means that the project is more likely to succeed, and it means that after it's implemented and it's handed over, it will be sustainable. You can include the community in projects in several ways. For instance, as we do, community education is one of the ways. You get to educate people about how to ensure this project becomes sustainable. You get to share ideas on ways to improve it. The community must always be at the center of each project, because each project we implement aims to solve the people's needs. It doesn't belong to you, the implementer. It belongs to the people. So these people must be included, and their opinions must be considered during the planning, execution, monitoring, and the handing over of the project. So during each of these stages, members of the community should be involved, whether through giving them jobs, educating them, just get them included so that they also have ownership of this project. Otherwise, projects that don't include the community receive a lot of resistance and they're likely to fail. I think unless there's a question, that is all I had for now. Barbara Shundu.
Well, thank you very much for that presentation.
Yeah, so do you have an issue?
No, there's no issue. Thank you very much for that presentation. So I'm going to take this opportunity to welcome our CEO, Dr. Macharia, to give a few remarks. Dr. you're welcome.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Is it Natalie? No, Nabali. I didn't get that one. Is it Nabali? Nabali.
Yes, it's Nabali.
Nabali, well, thank you so much for the great presentation. Now, there's one question before I even go to other comments. You say that you must involve the community, because if you don't involve the community, you might get resistance.
Yes.
Now, Nabali, what kind of resistance? What are examples of resistance you have noticed or witnessed in this area?
Well, as I said, the community involves different people who are likely to be affected by the project.
Yeah.
So, for instance, in the northeastern areas, we may have issues with security.
Yeah.
If people don't appreciate the project, they are more likely to vandalize the project, for instance, or just not accept it. You also have issues with people. People have different religions and beliefs.
Yes.
And unless you educate people and you make them aware about your intentions and the project itself and the nature of the project, people may have misconceptions about projects and react negatively towards it.
Okay, that is true. I have experienced a lot of both type of situation. Resistance, it's called unintended consequences. These are the unintended consequences that occur when you're implementing a project. And these
Exactly.
unintended consequences will occur when you do not take into consideration the actual needs of the people. So the community is not involved from the beginning. And there are two kinds. One is the belief system itself, just what people believe, particularly their faith. When it comes to water, people have a lot of belief about water. That if people are not involved from the word go, they come up with stories about that water or even that borehole that you have created. The most unique, the most prevalent narrative is that water is there to control the population. That they want family planning, that if you drink that water, you become sterile. There you cannot reproduce.
Exactly.
That's crazy. If that word gets out in the community, nobody will drink that water because everybody wants to have children, to have babies. And in fact, if anyone gets sterile because of other reasons, or medical reasons, then people will be saying, you see, she has been drinking that water and that's why she cannot produce babies. Or just because of any infertility that occurs, any problem that occurs in terms of reproduction. So reproductive capacity is the first narrative, because I think people believe in reproducing themselves so they can propagate their species. Now it become a story that this thing is going to prevent us from reproducing ourselves. This means we are going to be decimated. So your water project is dead in the water. That's one thing. It's very serious. Another thing is that people can say that that water is poisoned, so that it is spreading bacteria and viruses. And so people say a lot of very silly stuff about water. And in my community out there in Laikipia, we had one water project where people were saying that if you use it for irrigating your crop, it's going to destroy your soil. It's not just destroying the human body by sterilizing it, but it's actually even sterilizing the soil. That if you use it for irrigating your crops, then you see your soil becoming infertile, and whatever you plant there, it is not going to grow. And so people have got this water that's being brought to their homestead, but they can't use it because they're afraid that the water is going to poison their own plants and even poison the animals, let alone poisoning themselves. So that's one thing. Then, of course, there's the technical issues, like people vandalizing or stealing, destroying the place. So that, as you said, Bali, when you're thinking about a water project in the very, very beginning, you have to think about the community first, the people first. The first,
Yes.
the people is not because what happens when all of us let's go and raise money and then build a water project, and then we leave the people. We just go, so we're gonna buy this small patch of land, and then we drill, and then we drill into it, and then we are going to make sure there's enough water for everybody. People will not drink that water. Better believe it, even if there's no water anywhere to be found, because they are afraid that we are going to sterilize them. Okay, so that thing of people refusing, or the resistance that you get for from implementing a project and people not using it, is called lack of buy-in people do not buy into the project. And you know that in Actuate, we have been talking about what's the most effective way of getting buy-in, getting people to buy into your project. So we know that for people to buy into your project is a matter of communication. It's how you communicate to the people. If you come and drill a borehole and then tell the people to use the borehole, you get a buy-in which is maybe 1% or even less than 1%. That's you get rejection. You get full-blown unintended consequence, which is rejection of the project. People are not going to use it. But you cannot come in later to try and sell the project back to them, which is usually the second way of communicating a vision is selling. Selling the idea to the people. What are you selling? But people also try to do that. That's the after they try to shortcut the work, to get a shortcut. So there's selling, which you get about only maybe 1%. By out of 100 people, maybe only one of them will be using it. Then selling, you get about 2 to 5%. But then you can do testing, that you test the people's knowledge. You come there with questionnaire, like all these guys from the international development community, they come with questionnaire, they go to door, doing surveys, saying that they're doing needs assessment. You might get about 50% of the people falling into that. But even of that, after implementing through getting community involvement through surveys, like you have, I think that's what they're teaching in colleges, that you make up a survey and go and do a need assessment, and then you come back to town, look at that data, and then you go back there and drill a borehole. That's nothing to the people. You're still an outsider. But that, because you are involved in sitting with them, asking them questions, they might think that you're actually with them. That's an illusion. But that thing kind of dies off after some time. So they can use it for maybe a year, then after that, they stop using it. And then you wonder what happened. It's because your idea of communication was through testing. Testing, you get partial buy-in. And then you keep going up. You can actually now employ another technique for communication called advocating. You create advocates. These are like evangelists in the community. One person or two people, you tell them they become the advocate for the water project for you. So they are going to be like your ambassadors in the community talking. You see, the people in the community, them are not involved, but it's this ambassador who is even a local person, but it's not with them. He's delivering information from somebody else who is you. So advocating can actually, because the person is local, is advocating for you, and you can have several advocates within the community, you can get much bigger buy-in, which is about 70 to 80%, which is remarkable. Getting 80% of the people using water, then you are good to go. And of course, you can sustain that without decay, without much decay. You can have the project decaying or the use of the water system decaying, maybe dropping off for about 50%, and then the advocates come back and they pump in more advocacy, and then it pumps up again, and then it dies off, and then the advocate comes back, injects. This is like giving a dose of fresh communication. Yeah, giving dose by dose. You see, that is repetitive, expensive, because you were wondering why this thing decay. It's because people have not owned the idea. They haven't owned it. It's still outside. It's an outsider type of idea. So even having those advocates in the community, some people call them outreach officers or extension officers, but they are not the community themselves. Okay? So the most effective way of communicating a vision, the highest one, the fifth one, is called co-creating. Co-creating the solution together, creating the solution together with the people. It's very hard to co-create. That means that everyone, every individual in the community is involved in the water project from the word go, from the beginning. It's not something that's being brought to them. but it comes out of them. Now I'm telling you as an example, it's a woman, she gives birth to a baby. A baby is not brought to the woman to become the mother. The woman gives birth to the baby, and so she takes care of the baby. So she knows this is my baby 100%. Similarly, if the community gives birth to the project itself, the community is going to take care of it. Just like when a woman gives birth to a baby, she's going to take care of that baby. She feels she has the response. She feels responsible for that baby because of something called love. Love, LOVE, is 100%. And that the lady who is the mother of a baby can beat you up if you try to mess up with her baby. Okay. Same thing. If you want people to defend their project, you want them to give birth to that baby themselves. That is their baby. They have given it. That giving birth of the baby of themselves is called creation, creating the new project by itself. But because they are creating it together, we call it co-creation, co-creating. Okay, so co-creating is the most effective way of communicating a vision, because when there's co-creating, there is no buy-in. Everybody is already in. Everyone is already in the project. Now it becomes very difficult to get people to be already in from the word go. But how do you get all the people? How do you mobilize people so that they can be working and thinking together about creating a project? It's very, very difficult in a traditional system because it's about communication. How do you gather people together? Tell them what you want to do. Then you get them to participate together. So they produce this baby together. Now, luckily, we have something called the blockchain, which is decentralized way of communication. That, first of all, decentralized because it's the cell phone network, because it's electronic information system. Now you can send text messages to everybody's phone, and these text messages turn out to be money so long as everybody has got a wallet. So the first thing to do is to get everyone in the community, before you even talk about creating a project, get everyone in the community to have a blockchain wallet. That's going to be their means of communication. And then tell them to get on WhatsApp. If they don't have a smartphone, then we have to think about how to use the USSD phone and text message to communicate together in a community. Okay, why is the blockchain important? Now, blockchain comes with tokens, like Actuate tokens themselves. You see, tokens are an information pathway, say their means of communication. And see, we are communicating by in the co-creative spirit, co-creative spirit. So if you want to get a community together, now you can distribute, you can call in for a meeting, and when people come to the meeting, they get rewarded with tokens for attending the meeting. So the tokens becomes something that attracts people to the meeting, and they make decisions in that meeting. As members of the committee make a decision in that meeting, and they follow through with those decisions. They also receive tokens for making those decisions and following through with the decisions they made in the meeting. Supposing this is a meeting about figuring out how we're going to raise money to drill a borehole. Well, they come with the decisions, then they work together. Now you, as the person who has the idea of bringing this project, you know how you can fashion that, but you don't want it to come out of you. You want it to come out of them, but you can guide them. So you become just a guide, like somebody to facilitate, to help people go through, because you already know how to implement the project. You guide them through the steps of implementing the project. And every time they do something right, they do step one, they receive tokens for doing step one. So they get rewards for tokens. So, but then you don't do it and take it to them, but you go and discuss them, tell them, listen, right now, we are in the design phase. By the way, the community, they are not foolish people, they are smart people. I think one misconception we have about the idea about community, We think I think this we have been socialized to believe this, that people in the community are villagers. Yes. Those are people who have got something called brain, they have got children, they have gone to university. So among them inside there, there are people with technical knowledge, even to design the project you're talking about. Their own children. And you don't want their own children to have that technical knowledge, but then you bring another person from somewhere else, because that child who is excluded is the one who is going to be coming to criticize the project to his mother. Okay, so the community has got smart people inside there. That first of all, acknowledging that is supremely important, such that in every community, in your community, if you're an engineer, you know there are other engineers there, get them involved. But then say you cannot get involved because how are you getting paid? Now with tokens, they get rewarded with tokens. So it becomes a place where people are earning. And people usually, when they're in community, they don't care so much as to earn for the project they're doing in their community. They just want to be involved from the word go. But then how do you mobilize them? How do you get them to participate? That's the hard part. But that's why we're talking about community leaders, like, you know, religious leaders. They can help you identify the people, community leaders, who have got technical knowledge to participate, to get into the program. And now today, we have the technology for putting all those people together in one place, which is called a WhatsApp group. Okay, it's kind of a WhatsApp group for a water project for a particular village. That's why these technologies were built. They are not for gossip. Even Facebook, it turns out that people, even Twitter itself, these spaces are not created. When they were created, they were for communicating important things, not for gossip, like what people have turned them to be. So we use them for the work for which they were created. Let the gossipers do the gossip, but then you can organize people. Now you can reach all the members of the community with a WhatsApp group, the same WhatsApp group. Even you can have them on Facebook. For example, you can say in my village, like Wetima village, say Wetima water projects, say owner. And then I tell all my friends in Wetima, can we put everybody in this WhatsApp group? And you see, there's nobody who doesn't have access to WhatsApp. And I say that as a matter of fact, there is nobody who doesn't have access to it. There are those people who may not have access to it, but their brothers and sisters, and somebody in the family is in WhatsApp and will be representing them. So then you can get all those people, but then when they come there, they have to have wallets, which is we can have wallets for the members of the family or for each individual, and then where they can be receiving the tokens themselves. So the token becomes this glue that helps to stick people together, because the token is liquid token. It can you can go to decentralized exchanges and do things with it. Becomes very, very powerful, very powerful substrate for tying people together, a substrate. So that is why we now have the technology for bringing people together so that we can co-create. Then, as I said, when people are together like that and they go through the steps, you guide them through the steps of creating the project. Step one, we get tokens for that. You see, but they have to vote that this thing has been good and it's done. And so they all receive tokens for doing that good participation. And then you go to the second stage, they say, oh, this is now when we are going to implement it in our community, and they implement it according to plan. They get tokens. Every step gets rewarded with tokens. And when everybody is participating in the project, even the whole problem about those false beliefs that the water will be poisoned, because they are the ones who made the water project, the water is not going to be poisonous. It is not going to be loaded with medications for sterilizing women, causing infertility. It's not going to have, so because they are the ones who have drilled the water and the water has come, is born out of them. See, the water project is born out of them. You understand that? That is really what blockchain has given us, a lot of power. So that's what I would like to add about. And I think we have understood that in all projects, you have to think about the community buy-in. Buy-in, you cannot get it by telling or selling or even advocating. The only way to get buy-in, 100% buy-in, is through co-creating. And for those people who would like more information about this, we have published the article on co-creating is the most effective way of communicating vision. Frida has published in Wayavi. Frida, you can share the article with the people so they understand what is co-creating. And in Actuate, we believe in co-creating because that's the only way to get absolute buy-in from people. And number two, we are co-creating this. Now, the number two is that everyone who is here needs to understand the power of the tokens themselves. See, this year we've just been talking about the token and how they're going to use it, how to apply it. But next year it's going to be full-blown implementation. But initially it was just didactic training just to learn what tokens about, which we are going to also be doing in the next hour when you're talking about the exchanges and wallets. And then we can actually begin implementing the projects on the ground. Okay, now eventually, when people have written the project together, then they can gain access to financing, either through quadratic funding, as we have talked about before. Quadratic funding is when now the project, you have a community and the people decide now we're going to each one of us is going to contribute maybe 10,000 shillings. And then we have people with deep pockets come to provide matching funds to the community. So that matching fund will only be accessible when people are demonstrating through written documentation that they have been having these meetings, and this is how this is the budget. We are going to raise so much money as ourselves, and then we need matching funds from international community. The international community doesn't mean international; it's just from the Actuate Foundation itself, which is will mobilize the funds to create liquidity, and so that money becomes available for the project. Quadratic funding, and then everything after that, the project is built, implemented, and then people live happily ever after. Is there such a thing? Happily ever after? Yeah. So that's what I would say. That is the process. And so, Frida, please share that article on co-creating so people understand it and where we are heading with this, and the steps of implementing a project so that everyone gets in from the word go. So community involvement is not after the fact. Community involvement is from the beginning, a priori from the beginning. Yeah, which is usually very, very hard to imagine in the traditional system because we like to do things backward. Coming back to say, okay, now where have we gone? Say what went wrong? Things cannot go wrong if you're co-creating, if you're forward-looking. So for example, if you're driving a car and you're looking at the windscreen at night, you've turned on the headlights, you can now see the road as it is coming. But you cannot see the road ahead if you're looking at the rear view mirror. Looking backwards, you cannot get where you're going, which is now a traditional finance system is about that. Looking backwards, and then saying that we are learning from what we did in the past. Okay, so that's it. That's it for me. These people are calling me. Just let me find out what this is. Thank you so much. Back to Barbara.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc, for your remarks. And we appreciate that you always make time to come to the meetings and talk to us. So I don't know if there are any questions for our topic master. So far, there is none. So briefly, I'll just remind everyone about the summit. We have a summit in December from 3rd to 6th at Kenyatta University, and we shall be looking at how we can use blockchain, decentralized finance, and AI to improve the human life, or rather, human development. So if you have not signed up for the summit, you can go to our website at www.actuate.bio and you can fill up the attendees form, or you can as well join as a sponsor so that you can be part of the summit. So yes, and there being no questions, and this is a Learn to Earn program, I'm going to share the attendance form so that you can fill it and earn your Actuate tokens at the end of the month. So I'm going to share the attendance form. You can fill it, and after you're done filling it, feel free to leave because the meeting is adjourned. And just an announcement, we have another session on blockchain from 8 p.m. So you all are welcome. And thank you very much, everyone, for attending the session.